Welcome to Big Dan's Airgun Review channel. Today we're taking a look at a gun that, to be brutally honest, we probably should have looked at a long time ago, and that is the Kral NP02. The rifle's had a couple of upgrades since its first inception. You can probably see the match type trigger there at this moment in time. We won't talk about that until we get to the handling section of this review, however. Shameless plug out of the way, we charge £340 for these at bigdansairguns.co.uk, and that includes testing, and if you want we'll even test the accuracy for you, but that is usually by request, and again, if you want us to do it, we'll make sure it's done. So then, with that plug out the way, fingers out of your ears now, we'll get back to the video review. We'll have a look at the NP02 and see just what we think of it. Interesting little beast, as even the most elitist of gun snobs seem to like them lately. So let's move on to features, see what you get for your money, and see what we really think of the NP02. Okay, so features, what do you get with your little NP02? As we start off at the rear of the gun, as always, you can see we have a adjustable recoil pad there. You've also got an adjustable length of pull on this gun. As we come down, hopefully you can make out there's a small grub screw at the base of the, I won't call it butt stock, because it's not really, is it? Bottle stock, I'll say. If you unscrew that, you can make the length of pull longer, or obviously you can collapse it back to where it's at now. Out of the box, they're usually at their smallest setting, like this one is. So obviously, if you find it's a little too compact, you can unscrew that, pull it back a bit, tighten it back up, and then in conjunction with the recoil pad at the rear, you can make it fit you pretty damn comfortably. At least that's what we hope, but we'll find out how it actually shoulders when we get to the handling section. As we come further up, you do have a safety up here, very similar to most Kral rifles. Not my favourite safety on the planet, but it's fairly inoffensive, I'll put it that way. Apologies if you can hear the aeroplanes flying over. It is really busy today because it's quite a nice day. Hopefully the mic is blanking a lot of that out. As we get to the trigger, now the Mark 1 NP02s have the original sort of trigger. It's a thicker standard blade, whereas this one has been upgraded with the match type unit. They've been doing this for a little while now. Now most of the Kral rifles I've shot that have had the upgraded unit have been lovely to shoot, so we'll see how this one is. Slightly further up, as the gun is a Verminator, you do get the power adjuster with it as well. And again, considering the price point of the rifle, spec-wise, as I mentioned earlier, it's a really impressive little machine. So this is handy, say if you're using this for pest control, which most NP02s will be used for. If you're shooting in a barn or such like that, you can whack it down to minimum power, which is usually around 6 feet-pounds, and you won't have to worry about ricochets, over penetration or anything like that. It's a great thing to have on your gun, especially on a hunting rifle such as this. The main thing with this gun, of course, is the fact that you have got a cylinder on the front end, as you can see, and you've got a bottle on the rear, so the shot count should be pretty massive. Kind of dreading doing the shot count test through the chronograph a bit later on, to be honest with you, but hey, I do it so you don't have to. We'll fast forward it. Trust me, for me it'll be 2 hours, for you it will seem like 5 minutes. And on the front end, you've also got the thread protector there covering up what is 1/2" UNF, so you can silence it, which you will want to do with this little gun, because due to that very short barrel and the fact that these are full power, it is a really noisy little beast, but you might find that out a little bit later on. You get 2 magazines with the gun, as you can see there. This one's a 2.2, so these are the 2 10-shot, I believe, mags. And you've got the single shot tray and fill probe in this little bag. And all of this is wrapped up in one of the most craptastic boxes that I think I've ever seen. I'm willing to bet most Kral owners will agree with me on this. When this box in this case turns up, it's usually smashed to bits and you've got to reassemble it like I've had to do there. It's only a silly thing, but it's just, it is what it is. It's a cardboard box. What do you want? So that's it for features. Let's move on to handling now. But first, for the people new to this channel thinking about an NP02, let's have a look at the magazines. Okay, so loading the mag. If you've seen our other Kral videos, you can skip straight past this bit because you've no doubt seen it 100 times before. But if you're new to the channel and you're thinking about an NP02, this might be worth a watch. They're a pretty simple mag, to be fair, and I like the way you can probably see you've got the shot count test on there. Well, not test, but a display showing you how much that you have. They're also a 12-shot mag. I believe I said 10 earlier. That was me thinking of the 2.5s that we were shooting the other day. Yeah, it's a 12-shot mag, not 10, so apologies on that one. As we move the dial around, there are so many aeroplanes in the sky today, and the thing that makes it worse is absolutely none of them are interesting. The other day we had a Spitfire was rumbling around here. It'd be lovely if I could catch him on camera. So once you've spun that top tray the whole way around, you'll feel it will stop, and you see the rubber toggle will rest here. What you're going to want to do, although you don't have to do it, but it's ideal if you do, use your finger to cover up the pellet loading hole there, because sometimes they can plop back. Put your first pellet in like so, and what that will do is it will lock that toggle in place. So now you can load the rest of the pellets with no tension on that mainspring at all, and it'll be easy. You can see there, smooth as silk, you haven't got to worry about it. And essentially keep yourself loading until the mag is completely full of pellets, and then it's just a case of putting it straight in your gun and off you go. So that's loading the magazines. Let's move on now to handling and see just what this funky looking little thing actually feels like in the shoulder. Okay, so handling, what do we think of the NP02? First thing I've done is I've fitted a silencer on the end. Trust me, you're going to want to budget for one of those as well. These are very loud little guns. The barrel is very, very short, so you're getting the full effect of that air blast going through there. This is not salesman talk, take my word for it, or talk to other NP02 owners. These little buggers are loud. What I will say though, handling wise, is if you're thinking it's going to be an ultralight little gun to buy, say, your niece or nephew, it's not. The NP02's got a bit of heft there. It's actually heavier than the FX Gladiator that we reviewed the other day. This has got a bit of heft. The main thing is, obviously, it's because you've got this big chunky bottle here, and the Kral blocks are very chunky themselves. I actually really like it. I like how solid the Krals feel. It's not a super lightweight gun. The other thing is, because it's a bottle gun, there's usually sacrifices made. One of those is the length of pull on it. There is a little bit of a length of pull. If you're going to use it as a bench rest gun for, say, a youngster, probably not much of a problem at all, although you might have issues getting the eye alignment correct because you are a little bit far back, as you can see here. But, I mean, as a hunting gun for an adult and such like that, I mean, it shouldn't be a massive amount of a problem. I mean, there are guys out there that do fit the sling studs to them and such, and you can put it back here. I think some people get like the wraparound ones you can fit here, and you can carry it all day long. And it's not a super heavy gun, make no mistake. It's not like something like an Aircobra. It's comfortably lighter than that. But at the same time, it is still going to be a little too heavy maybe for a youngster or someone along those lines. The other thing that I will mention is we do have the new upgraded trigger, as you can see there. So why don't we put a mag in and see just what that feels like. The cocking action is typical Kral, and by that I mean it's nice and chunky. You've got that little bit of weight there as you're pulling it back. It's not like finger light as some of them are, but at the same time I do quite like it. Even the return, you can see that was a bit, maybe slightly notchy there, but to be fair with you, we're using FX pellets where I'm willing to bet if I reach into the tin, that one's actually not too bad. It's a little bit squared off, as you can tell, but it's not too bad. This batch I don't think have been the best, so it could be a bit of a naff skirt as to why that was a bit notchy going in. But the new match trigger, why don't we have a play with that and see what we think. So safety off, and just a quick thing on the safety, I'm warming up the Kral safeties, I'm getting used to them, but they put it a bit out the way. It's on the right hand side and it's up here, and for me it's just not very intuitive having to take your hand off the guard and then flick it off and on and such like that. If they could have put it here, so I can just like a bit like a AR-15 or something like that, I can just click, that would be superb, but they've sort of put it up and out the way up here. It's just a bit alien, but we're nitpicking now. Right, so let's take aim and try that trigger. Second stage. That's really good. There's a tiny little bit of creep on the second stage. Let's just have a little slower look at that. There, you can see how it loaded lovely and smooth. I think it was just a duff pellet that time. Right, little finger. Hopefully we can catch it on camera and you can see that. So the second, see a tiny little bit of movement. There, see that? And now it'll break, just like that. That is a really nice trigger. I'm doing it one more time. I'm enjoying this. Right, one more time, little finger. So you'll see there's a bit of creep on the second. So there's second there. There. And it breaks. Yeah, that is a really nice trigger. It's lovely and light, and it is an adjustable unit. You can even adjust the position of the trigger shoe itself. So I know a lot of target shooters like to twist it one way or the other to give them a lighter pull on the trigger and such like that, and less overall interaction with the gun. But that I'm sure you can adjust that to make that even sweeter than it is. So trigger wise, it's pretty damn pucker, I will say that. For such a cheap gun as well. I mean, the Crossman Icon's cheap, £280, but this is only £60 more, and look at it. You've got a power adjuster, you've got the big bottle on the rear, cylinder on the front, so shot count test will be, well, boring and tedious for me, but interesting for you, I'm sure, or at least I hope. You've got a genuinely nice trigger, and unlike the FX Gladiator, I can actually look through the scope when I shoulder this thing, and yes, that is a dig there to the Gladiator. As I'm sure you can tell, I was not a fan of that, but hey-ho, is what it is. This is a much nicer little thing to shoulder. Accuracy testing will be interesting to do a comparison, although granted we're now talking about a 340 pound gun up against a 1300 or 1200 pound gun. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what airgunning's all about. You like what you like, you don't like what you don't like. This, we'll see if I like it the further we go on. But from a spec standpoint and handling standpoint, I think it's a nice little thing. Not as nice to shoulder as a Sporter, but it's a gun with a bottle at the back. So what do you expect? Length of pull's a little bit long, or longer than you think, but at the same time, it's not offensive. The thing that's funny is you can adjust length of pull, as we mentioned earlier, but you can only make it longer. Hey-ho, whatever. If you want it to be even more uncomfortable, Kral give you that opportunity. But no, handling-wise, I'm a very happy chap. Side lever's lovely, trigger's quite nice. Safety's a bit out of the way, but is what it is. But overall, I think that is a really nice little gun. Right then, so let's move on now to chronograph testing. Right, well that was interesting then. So we've just completely defeated a tin of Norma. We've never had that happen on this channel, I don't think. I don't think we've actually gone through an entire, there you go, there's the plastic that seals it shut. I don't think we've ever gone through an entire tin of pellets before, and the gun technically still hasn't dropped below 10 feet-pounds. She's still going. So what I'm going to do, we've got a few FX pellets, 16 grain pellets going. So you'll notice the numbers will be a little bit different. This is just to see how long it can go on for now. So, my God, I wonder if it'll cling on to 10.09 feet-pounds until 300 shots. Let's find out. Oh, you're kidding me, really? And a quick wind check. You can probably hear and see it is also really rather gusty today. It's moving, even flapping like the tins that have fallen down there and such like that. So this could be entertaining. Let's see how a 2.2 does in the wind. Right, so that's accuracy testing out of the way. A couple of little surprises maybe. Not so much when it comes to the worst pellets on test. So SMK Victory Shock. That looks like 4 pellets on the card. That's because there was only 4 pellets on the card. I have no idea. I don't know if it's the first or second pellet. No idea where that went, but this gun does not like them. Milbro Selects. A bit rubbish to be fair. Norma S Target Match. Now these I've actually got a little bit of sympathy for. They're the joint lightest on test off memory. They're just bang on, according to the tin, 14 grain. 20 pence piece. Bear in mind the wind that we've had today. 20 pence piece, and it sits under that. It's not quite as bad looking as what you think. It's definitely not the prettiest group we had. Now we have the mediocre pellets. So we have the SMK Spitfires. So we've got 4 in this group here and 1 just off. Never all of it will never fit under a 20 pence, but the main cluster most certainly will, with 1 just off up there. And as we come down, we have the Apollos. Now these are starting to surprise me because the 177s from my testing are a little bit rubbish, at least in the barrels I've tried them in. However, 2.2 are pretty damn good. In fact, it's not a 5 pence group for the 4 down below, but is it a 20 pence group? Nearly. It's pretty much there, just with 1 flyer going up high. Now we have the best pellets on test, or some of the best pellets anyway. So we have the Rifle Premium series. Ignore the 2 shots up top. That was me just seeing if I had pulled it with the shots going slightly high there, or if it was the wind or something like that. No, I don't think it was. You can see the 2 here went a little bit astray, and I thought, do you know what, we're done. So the premium rifle pellets, 5 pence piece. Easy for the main cluster, you can see there. In fact, it's actually a really nice group. I don't even know why I even bothered doing those. Hey ho, maybe the sun got to me. We're not used to it here in the UK. FX pellets, 16 grain, 5 pence group, as you can see there. As we come down though, the actual winners of the test, in my eyes, because it's basically just a much prettier group, we have the Norma Golden Trophy FT is joint winner. You can see there, 5 pence group all day long. In fact, that 4-shot cluster there is absolutely bloody brilliant. And as we come along, we have the JSB Jumbo Heavy Exact. We've got 4 pellets through these 2 little holes. It looks like 2 pellets, but I assure you there's 4 in there. And 1 just went a bit high, because thing you'll notice about this channel, and proving it with nearly every group we've got here, we always get the big Dan flyer, don't we? But the JSBs, you can see, easily 5 pence piece. So it's a bit windy. It's not nasty, it's beautiful to be honest. It's a bit gusty today. Do we be that cruel and make the NP02 shoot at 45 yards? Of course we do. So we're going to set the camera up at 45 yards. I'll have a couple of shots off camera just to make sure it's on 0. We're not going to shoot the barn up or anything like that. And we'll do a shoot off between the JSB Exact Jumbo Heavy Diablo and the Norma Golden Trophy FT. Let's see who comes out on top. So 45-yard accuracy testing results, how did we get on? Well, the worst group of all was the FXs. Had a feeling I shouldn't have put these in. We did say we weren't going to put these in, and well, this is what we had. To its credit, the weather is really bad for shooting today. If I just pan up again, hopefully you can see that. The wind is blowing like an absolute bitch today. But the main cluster, you can see here, it's not 20 pence. If we push it up like that, it's 20 pence basically with 2 flyers, as can be seen. After that, we had the JSB Jumbo Heavy Diablos, 18.13 grain, and also the Norma Golden Trophy. Now, it's a weird tie between these. I'm going to nudge it towards the Norma. The only reason why I say it is because the main cluster of both is pretty much 20 pence with one flyer, as you can see there. Actually, no, with the Normas. Let me try it. Okay, right, scratch that. I was wrong. With the Normas, it will fit under a 5 pence piece with the one flyer going out. So let's now try a 20 pence down there. Will it cover up all of it? Oh, it's close. Do you know what? I think it bloody well is. There's only, you can just about make out a little tufty part there and a dear little splat there from one of the pellets. Again, is that where the pellet head went through, or is it just where it's torn the paper around it? I'm going to say it's a tear, but then you expect me to say that because I'm sure you can probably tell by now I am quite a fan of this little gun. So again, £340 gun, terrible windy conditions, and you can get a 20 pence group with it at 45 yards. I don't think I need to say any more, but we do need to say a little bit more because that does lead us on to the final verdict to see just what we think of the Kral NP02. Oh, Kral NP02, final verdict. What do we think? I'm a massive fan. I'm not going to swoon over it too much though, because it's not perfect. There's a couple of little things that definitely need mentioning with it if you're thinking about getting one. As we mentioned in the handling section, it's not as light as what you might be hoping it to be. It's got a big chunky bottle on the rear end, and Kral stuff in general has got a real, they always use these big chunky blocks, which I actually really like. They're a lovely solid feeling thing, but they're not the lightest on the planet. The Gladiator, the FX that we reviewed the other day, granted it's a substantially more expensive gun, but despite the fact it's bigger, it's actually lighter feeling than this. The other thing I'm going to mention is the length of pull. You can see it's a little bit long if I pan it across here, so if you're thinking about getting the gun for a junior, or you're slightly maybe smaller in stature, this is not going to be all that comfortable for you. It's going to be a little bit of a reach to get to the trigger. It is adjustable, but it's only adjustable from its position at the moment anyway. It's only adjustable to make the length of pull longer. Now, I'm a bit of a long-armed weirdo, and this actually fits me pretty much perfectly in its standard configuration. I don't think there's going to be many people out there that's going to sit there and go, do you know what, I might just extend that a bit. Long story short, you might find it a bit awkward to shoulder if you're a bit younger or a bit smaller in general. That said, at the same time, it's a fabulous little thing. There is one other nitpick though, I have got to say. Pressure gauge right underneath the barrel. First rule when getting into this sport is don't look down the barrel and treat the rifle like it's always loaded. How do I check the pressure? You put your head right near the barrel. It's not the only gun that does it. Loads of them do it. Even much of the premium gear does it. Gets under my skin a little bit, makes me itch, but that's about it. But that's pretty much it for negatives. There's a little bit of heft, maybe more than you think. Length of pull's a bit awkward, and the pressure gauge is in a stupid place. Other than that, I mean, it ticks all the boxes. It's a £340 gun that comes with a really nice hard case as well, it's got to be said. The old Kral hard cases were a little bit rubbish, to be honest. You couldn't even get an NP02 in, well, maybe not the NP02, the Jumbo, I believe. You couldn't even get that in the case when it's got a scope on there and such like that. The new case, however, not only do you have a handle to go with it, and you can comfortably get the guns in them with a scope on, but you even get wheels to go with it, so you can drag your little NP02 around like you're an OAP and you've just done your shopping. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But in general, the gun is fantastic. The trigger on there is a massive improvement over the older one, which out the box was a little bit heavy, to be brutally honest. This one though is fantastic. There's a tiny little bit of creep on the second stage, but it's microscopic. Hopefully you can see it in the camera, but it was nothing that put me off when it comes to shooting. On the subject of shooting, number one, the barrel, at least up to 27 yards, I think we had the target set. At 27 yards was not even really pellet fussy at all. Even the Apollos very nearly grouped well with it. On top of that, when it comes to accuracy, bear in mind the rubbish conditions today. You can probably hear the barn flapping around in the background. 45 yards off of a rest, we had a 20 pence group, and we had another group because I made the mistake of saying it's a Verminator type gun, or you can use it for hunting, which means I then have to shoot it unrested. And you can see here, if we move, this is 5 shots again, move the 20 pence over, and you can see there, boom, 20 pence group. In fact, what I was quite impressed with myself is that is, I believe, 3 shots in that little cluster there, and that is really quite impressive. Hang on, there's a 5 pence piece next to it, so you can take a look. These two is probably me being an absolute idiot, but hey ho, we won't glance over those too much. We'll just make me look good, which is a hard thing to do. So overall, performance-wise, I'm a huge fan, and even the amount of kit that you get with it. You got a built-in power adjuster, the side lever's lovely to operate, proper 1/2-inch UNF threaded barrel, and on top of that, like we said, trigger's nice, and even the scope rail is Kral's rather lovely sort of dual system scope rail, so you can get a dovetail mount on there, Weaver, Picatinny, you name it, you can chuck your scope on there. For £340, it's a fantastic little thing. You can see now why even the biggest brand snobs will give the NP02 a pass. It's a fantastic little thing. On top of that, it's even the shot count on it. You got, was it 350 shots per fill? And pretty consistent throughout all that as well. We had a spread of, I think through most of it was about 30-ish, which considering it's an unregulated gun at the same time. Brilliant bit of kit. Genuinely brilliant little gun. You probably feel me smiling behind the camera. I don't get like this with most PCPs, but considering how cheap this little gun is, and what you get at that price, that's what I love about some of the budget modern PCPs, because it shows you don't need to spend this stupid money. People are going to hate me for what I'm about to say, for a badge, essentially, or something along those lines. The budget gear is getting so good now, the excuses to buy an expensive gun are evaporating as time goes on. But anyways, we're possibly going to start annoying people at this moment in time. The brand snobs are going to come towards me with, I think they've upgraded from pitchforks to tridents at this moment in time. So you may see me soon, you may not, we'll see what happens. But anyways, thanks ever so much for watching this review. Kral NP02, I'm a massive fan. Box is crap. But other than that, massive fan. Please fix that, Kral. And we hope to see you next time. No idea what I'm filming yet, we'll see what we can get done.